Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to do a short review on the underwater CanFish fishing camera. All right, so to start off with, pretty much showed you all the specs in the beginning of the video. But to start off with this, of course, you're going to connect this to your phone. There's a CanFish app. You got to go to the App Store and download the CanFish app, and you can download that. Once you get into there, it'll tell you to enter the camera. Then you can obviously connect it through Wi-Fi after you turn this button on and enter the camera. It's a pretty simple process. You should be able to figure it out fairly easily. If you have any questions about that, just hit me up in the comments and I'd be happy to answer any questions you got about that. But as far as using the actual camera, I've used it a couple times. I like it quite a bit. I would say that the footage can get kind of choppy if you're using it in a fast motion, or if you try to jig it, or if once you get hooked up on a fish, it goes everywhere, starts spinning and making all kinds of crazy noises and all kinds of stuff. So pretty much you're getting this camera to catch that initial bite, that initial strike, maybe to see what was following your bait, see what was following your lure. It can be very, very interesting to see that, of course. On this side is where you tie your main line. I usually use a braided line, 50 pound plus with this, just because I don't want to lose it. It was about $200, and of course, that's a lot of money for some people, for anybody really. $200 for this little camera is a lot, and you don't want to lose it. So I usually put a good snap swivel on this side, a good branded snap swivel with tie my braided line on. Like I said, usually 50, 65 pound braid is good enough on this side. On this other side, I'll usually tie a 15 to 20 pound mono. Usually you want to tie about 10 to 12 inches. You don't want to tie it too long. If you tie it too long, you're not going to see the action shots as well. If you tie it a little closer, you can see the action shots really good when they come up and bite it. So like I said, use a lighter line on this side. That way, if you get snagged or something, or if you get a big monster fish, it'll just break off instead of potentially breaking you off on the main line, in which case you lose your camera. So you want to use a lighter line on this side, like I said. So if you get snagged, you break off, and you'll bring in your camera. You won't have your lure or hook on there, but at least you got your camera, and more than likely you got the bite. So once you turn this on and get in the camera, it starts kind of recording automatically. You have to pause it if you don't want to record. All the footage that it stores goes into that app, and it kind of just saves it all automatically, so you can go in there and delete it almost right away if you want. If you record for 5-10 minutes and you don't get anything that you want, you can go in there, stop recording, go into those in that archive, and kind of delete everything and restart it. And it's got quite a big memory space. You don't have to enter a memory card or anything like that. It's all internal. I like that about that also. You don't have to do pretty much anything except turn it on, connect it to your phone, rig it up on your line, and start fishing with it. I think the two best ways to fish with it are fishing on a slow straight retrieve with the lure, like a paddle tail, something that is going to just kind of swim directly behind it, so that way you can get your shot behind it. And I say slow retrieve because if you're, like I said, if you're reeling it in really fast, or you're jigging it, like some lures, you want to do that, but this isn't necessarily the best thing to do that with, because that footage is just going to be everywhere and you're not going to get very good shots. You're not going to be happy with it. So a slow straight retrieve with the paddle tail, kind of like I did in the video or in the shots where I got the redfish, it's pretty good for that. And I even probably used it too heavy of a jig head. I think I had like a half-ounce jig head. I don't even know why. I was excited to fish and rigged it up. But ideally, use a lighter jig head, an 1/8 ounce or something that's not going to want to sink to the bottom and keep going to the bottom like mine kind of did. So the next time I go and use this, I probably will use a lighter jig head, maybe an 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, something like that. Because you don't need the extra weight to cast, because this is 3 ounces and you're going to have plenty of weight just with this, even if you just tie a regular hook, treble hook, circle hook, anything on the back of it if you're using bait or something, which is what I also did when I fished for black drum. I just tied on a circle hook with about 12 inches a leader line, and I got some pretty cool shots with it. One thing I will say, if you're fishing on the bottom, when you get the cast out there and it gets to the bottom, I usually reel in about 5 yards of line to get it straightened out, because sometimes your camera will land here and your bait will land over here, and then the whole time you're just recording nothing. So every time it hits the water, you're going to want to probably put your rod tip down and then just slowly reel it in. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring this even with your line, obviously, and then when you drag it, the bait is going to be dragging behind it like that, and then ideally you get whatever shot you're trying to get, on the bite, wherever your bait's at. Otherwise, like I said, I've tried it out a few times to where when it hits the bottom and you just leave it out there, this camera is just looking at nothing. Of course, you might see a random fish swim by, or you might see the tail of the fish that's biting your stuff, but for the most part, it's not it's not going to catch it. So you want to make sure you reel in that slack, bring it in straight, and get that line straightened out on it. It comes with this bobber, this blue bobber to fish, on top of the water with. I'm not a big fan of it, just because, like I said, the stability on this camera is not great. I mean, you have to have realistic expectations. It's not going to have great stability. It's an underwater fishing camera. It's not a GoPro or another action camera. And the reason I say I don't like this bobber is because generally, when you're fishing at the coast or really anywhere where there's going to be a little bit of wind or something, it's going to be doing this, and the footage is just going to be doing that. You might get a glimpse of something, but it just, for me anyways, it hasn't worked out so well. I might try to experiment with it a little bit and try some different things with it to get better utilization out of this bobber. But so far, just fishing with it on the top, I got to say I'm not a big fan of it. It does got the grooves to go on there really well, and it fits perfectly. It's made for it, and then you can obviously see it very well during the daytime with that bright blue color. But like I said, not a big fan of that. The charging system, pretty much easy. It's got a USB-C on the back. It's a little gray charger. You plug it in and the green light on top comes on. The other thing I don't like about it is that when it's fully charged, it just goes from green to a brighter green. And sometimes, it can be hard to distinguish, hey, is it fully charged yet or not? Because it's just a green light and a green light. Fully charged and charging is green light and green light. So not really a big fan of that, but it's not really that big a deal. You charge it for an hour or 2 hours, you'll be good. And once you go into the app and open up this camera, it'll tell you your battery life, how much memory card space you have left and all that stuff. So overall, I would say it's a really good underwater camera. There's not a lot of options out there. It is a little bit pricey at $200, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of work went into making this camera, and it does what it's supposed to do. It does a good job, in my opinion. It's not perfect. It does have some flaws, but you'd expect that with almost anything. For what it is, you're going to get some cool shots. It's not for when you're fighting the fish. It's to get that initial strike, to see what's following your lure, see what kind of interesting stuff you can actually see under the water. Once you hook up to the fish, like I said, it goes berserk and you're not gonna be able to get really any good shots. But really easy to use, plenty of storage, don't have to really do anything but connect it, turn it on, and start fishing with it, and try not to get stuck. Because like I said, you get stuck with it, you get this wedged in a rock or something, you're pretty much toast, and you're gonna lose this $200 camera. So I'd say I would recommend it. It's not for everybody. You can't fish with it every single spot. You're not going to want to use it at every single spot, because more than likely you're going to be fishing around structure. Fish like to hang out around structure, so people naturally fish around structure, but that tends to lead to snags and tends to lead to other things like your braid getting chafed on the rocks or something. And you're not going to want to take many risks with this. You're going to want to try to be careful with it. You're going to want to pick your spots where you use it. And if you do that, I think you will like it. I didn't get paid by them. I didn't, this isn't a review that they wanted me to do or anything. I just bought it got some cool shots. You know, I've explained a few things that I don't like about it, and most of the things are positive, I would say. So I would recommend going checking it out. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. If y'all have tried it and like it and got any advice from me or any comments or questions, make sure y'all hit me up in those comments. And if y'all want to see me review anything else, make sure y'all let me know, and I'll see if I can make that happen too. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. We got a big summer coming up, a big spring coming up first, then summer and fall. We're hopefully gonna have some big stuff going on this year. You know, we're gonna be jetty fishing. We're gonna be hopefully offshore fishing and fishing on the boat, speckled trout, redfish, jacks, kings. We're gonna try to have a really good year. We always try to have a really good year, but very optimistic about this year, and hope you are following along for the ride. And once again, hope y'all enjoyed today's video. We'll catch y'all on the next one.